Lately, I see Japan not only as too crowded, but also full of people who maybe never had any interest in Japanese culture. They don't know what Japan is, they just say, I came to Japan because it's trendy. I'm Naka, this is Japatonic, and today I want to analyze why and how Japan suddenly became a trendy country. First, the easiest thing. The main reason for everything is this, the phone, the internet, which makes Japan go viral in many ways. All the travel YouTubers I know, after the pandemic, all came to Japan. By the way, thanks to everyone who visited me. And greetings also to those who said we were going to meet up and we didn't. But anyway, let's see beyond what people say about Japanese jokes and all that nonsense. The internet in general is something that made a lot of people discover Japan. People began to realize it wasn't such a distant country. I mean, taking a plane from Latin America to Europe or to Japan, maybe there wasn't that much of a difference anymore. Hotels, yes. Well, that's something that has gotten more expensive. But in general, because of the devaluation, Japan suddenly became a cheap country. For example, many people from Mexico came to Japan before the pandemic. And since after the pandemic, the yen devalued and the Mexican peso went up in value, suddenly everything felt like it was half price. And of course, even before the pandemic, it's not that Japan was an expensive country. Actually, prices even went up. But for people, it's cheap because it's 50% cheaper. Everything, like buying products, going out to eat, everything is much cheaper than before. Even though, I repeat, Japan wasn't expensive before. For example, here in Akihabara, while giving tours, I showed some people stores that had figurines. Menos un poco. They saw them for 4,000 yen, about $30, maybe a little less. They said, no, this is super cheap. But I replied, no, this is the most expensive store. I'll show you the cheapest one nearby. And of course, they had the same one for $10, I mean half or even less than half the price. And that's when people go crazy. For example, a month ago, I was with Friedbal on his show, Resto del Mundo. And he and the producer were going crazy. I mean, they couldn't believe how fascinated they were by Japan. Also, the girls were very pretty. They kept saying it over and over. But the thing is, while talking, I asked, out of all the countries you visited, which one is the best for you? And they said Japan. I mean, they didn't even think about it. There are just so many factors. Of course, Japan has a strong cultural identity. It has a lot when it comes to shopping. It's a country that has absolutely every brand. For shopping, it's a real paradise. It's really hard to come here and not buy things. This one, for example, this store is Trader, and I had made a video about what it was like to shop in Akihabara, but at that time the building was still under construction. Nowadays, in this neighborhood, this store has the best prices for figurines by far. If you don't plan to travel to Japan, that's fine. But anyway, whether you travel to Japan or not, either way, a lot of times, you can often find things cheaper online than in stores. For example, I hardly ever buy things in stores because I can get everything on Mercari or Amazon. And there, the price is usually a little lower. But, well, when you come here, obviously as a tourist, it's kind of hard to shop online while you're on vacation here. This has always been and remains the most expensive store in Akihabara. The figurines are at about 3,500 yen, 3,000 and 2,500 for the minor characters, but this one costs 4,000. Set a spending limit per figurine. I always say not to pay more than 2,500 yen. And with that, you can buy a lot of figurines. I've seen people walk out with 3 bags full with 9 or 10 figurines, and they've spent less than $100. But this one, that's 5,500 yen at Trader. It might be 2,000 yen cheaper. These don't make sense how expensive they are for their size, 3,000 or 4,000. At Trader, none cost even 2,000. Some may cost over 2,000 yen, but those are the ones to avoid. But that's for the ones that are looking for figurines. There are many categories, but we won't cover every collecting category in detail. Besides, it's a country where you can get around completely on your own, as long as you look up a bit of information on the internet. On this channel, basically, If you look for all the videos that are about travel tips, all the tourist tips, you can plan your whole entire trip from start to finish. I mean, I've already talked about which neighborhoods are best to book a hotel in. I mean, looking for flights, that's Google. It's not very hard to search for flights. Then when it comes to looking for hotels, you might ask where. I've already made videos on the best areas. I've already shared the Google Maps links where I talk about which areas are tourist spots. I'll also leave the link in the description today. Also, where should you book a hotel? Wherever there are green points saved on that map. Then how to make bullet train reservations, all those things. You can do everything on your own. Look, for example, I do tours, but it's good because, it's also like a refresher. Because it happens to a lot of people that they arrive at the airport and their mind goes blank, they don't know what to do. The tours are really just to get a little more familiar. And also, to learn about the history and all that. It's also a tutorial on navigating the rest of your trip to Japan. Because I do one-day tours, right? It's not like it's a week with Naka, because I don't do that. It's always one-day tours. And that should be enough to get around the rest of the country. It's basically just refreshing your memory of all the videos in a way with an extra touch of history, curiosities and conversation, all of that. Another thing, the food. Japan is a food paradise. It's one of the reasons why many people come here. And actually, they're not even fans of anime video games or anything like that. A lot of people come for the food. And even if there are people who don't eat Japanese food, there are always options available. But it's nice that you can manage on your own. Because there are countries that are beautiful, but they're missing things like, for example, communication between cities, like in Thailand. When I traveled to Thailand, what really saved me was the agency, Your Guide in Thailand. And I promoted them a lot because they really saved me. Honestly, I didn't think it would be so difficult to get around between certain cities or how to get to certain places because of the lack of public transportation. But in Japan, you can do everything. I mean, you realize it's a country made to welcome a lot of tourists, even though it's a completely different language and we can't read the signs. People don't speak much English, but even so, the Japanese are very kind. The service is very good. Even if they don't speak English, they make themselves understood. I've always said the people who treat the tourists the worst are the ones who work with tourists in tourist areas because they're fed up with them, right? But aside from that, people are always surprised by the level of service that the Japanese provide. Many people say, I'm going to Japan, but I don't know the language. My friend, you don't have to know the language anywhere. I mean, look, let me tell you, so far, the Asian countries I've traveled to are Taiwan, where they speak Chinese, Hong Kong, where they speak Chinese, Korea, Korean, Thailand, and Malaysia, where they speak their own languages. I didn't learn a single word of their languages, and I'm not very good at English either. Wherever I go, it's just hello, on. That's it. How much? That's it. We all know a few words in English, and that's enough to get by in Japan or any country in Asia. That's actually good. It's about overcoming your fear. When the time comes, you'll know what it is. Or sometimes they've told me on a tour, Naka, I don't know, could you ask them to give me that hat? I don't know how to ask for it. I tell them, look, I'm going to show you the magic way without using words. I did this. I pointed with my finger at what I wanted, and that's it, nothing more. Of course, sign language, friends, sign language is also another super basic thing. I mean, and all that set of things, well, besides all the native arts, all the contrasts in the cities, that mix of modern and old that has so much is what makes Japan so popular. Because, of course, let's see, when I went to Italy, I loved it. I fell in love. But of course, I more or less already knew what I was going to find. I knew what kind of cuisine. Because, of course, European culture is much more globalized. But Japan, being the country of the Far East, is a completely different culture. And it's like you really feel that you're in another world, that it's a different country. You really feel that there aren't as many things in common with your culture as there are in Europe. So that makes you even more curious. Like, you want to see what's exotic, exactly the exotic things that catch your attention. Like the maids which are super exotic, people say, who are those girls? I've explained it 1,000 times, but basically, if you have your phone with internet, that's it, you can get around just fine. I mean, Holofly is a great option for internet when you're traveling. Well, the thing is, the problem is that since Japan has become so popular and so many people are coming, in fact, last month in May, when I'm recording this, just in May, there were 3.5 million tourists who came to Japan. A complete record, honestly, for this 2025. Oh, by the way, I've mentioned this before, but the public trash bins you see on the street are for drink containers, cans, glass, or plastic bottles. You don't throw regular trash here. These are trash bins that belong to the companies that operate the vending machines. And as for public trash cans, sometimes you can find them at a convenience store like a 7-Eleven, Lawson, or Family Mart. But not all places have them. In touristy spots, trash bins are missing because people misuse them for their own trash. Always bring a small bag for your trash. But anyway, like I was saying, a lot of bad tourists come here, right? Well, I've already recorded videos talking about this topic. One of the most annoying recent ones was that guy with the huge speaker on the subway. Some say it's only the last seconds as he's leaving. No, you just don't do that, period. The worst part is that, thanks to his great example, now even some dumb young Japanese guys are doing the same thing. Unbelievable, unbelievable. But anyway, let's see. These are the consequences of what happens when a country becomes very popular and it stops having value for many people. But anyway, I tell you, whoever comes to Japan finds a lot of value in it. This is another smaller trader, but it also offers good prices for figurines. But look, a lot of people, for example, come and say, Naka, we want you to tell us what things we shouldn't do in Japan so we don't mess things up. I tell them, look, the moment you even ask me that question, it's because you're a little bit afraid. You don't need to be afraid. Just don't do things you wouldn't do in your own country. Maintain respect for people. After that, no, there's no reason why Japanese people would get offended or upset with you. Well, let's see. The most typical one could be on the subway. Well, I've already explained that. For example, someone with a big backpack who doesn't take it off. That's annoying on the subway because it bumps into people. If you notice, when you're on public transportation, everyone has their backpack in front of them, precisely so they don't bump into other people. Or just standing right at the entrance and not wanting to move when people are getting on and off. But anyway, let's see. I understand that there are a lot of people who aren't used to taking public transportation in their countries either, because there isn't much of it. But anyway, let's see. There are little things that you gradually start to notice. It's really a place where you can come in a very relaxed and just have a good time. There's also a custom in some country, can't recall which, where as summer is getting here, people walk and get very thirsty. First, to buy something, you must pay before opening it. I'm saying this because I've been told that in some, I can't remember which country. If you want, you can open a bag of chips or a drink while you're doing the shopping and pay for it at the register later. No, that's not done here. That's stealing because you're using the product before paying for it, and it only becomes yours after payment. So just keep that in mind. Also, another thing is not to assume that every place accepts credit cards, because that's not the case. 80% of places accept cards, but there's a 20% that don't accept credit cards. Be careful and always keep cash on hand. The thing is, Japan is a wonderful country. It's very affordable, it's very delicious, and everything is very easy to buy. Everything is easy to manage, despite the language barrier. And of course, all those things together made people recommend others to travel to Japan. What made so many YouTubers come to Japan and love it? Luisito Comunica, who comes to Japan twice a year. There are many reasons why Japan became trendy, and it's basically a combination that's thanks to the internet. The information, well, that's what promoted tourism around the world, right? See you next time. Greetings to you, your family, your pet, and your jerk neighbor. Bye.